Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 12, Episode number 10. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Glad you guys are back with us for this Monday edition of the show. Just a heads up, we're recording this on Sunday night, so if any major breaking news happens on Monday early morning, it will not be addressed in the show, but just a heads up there. Dave, how you doing? Good to be back with you.
Yeah, and I don't even know what day it is anymore.
Me neither.
Actually, I do. I think this is Sunday night right now, and I only know that because my TV keeps telling me that because it's the top 100 players of 2021 segment is running. I guess they're trying to cram as many as they can in two segments.
A 6-hour show?
Yeah. Boy, I'm sure that did great on the ratings. On the same weekend that, if you had back-to-back football games and all like that and all, but whatever. They always find a way to get this stuff in, and I guess overall it does pretty well on the ratings there, but there's not many Steelers to talk about in the rankings this year, right?
Right, yeah. I am miffed the NFL for not having football on today. I thought there'd be a preseason game.
There was earlier. I guess
there was one.
Yeah, Colts and Panthers, I think, played.
Right, but how do you not get like a Sunday night game in that kind of first official weekend? Seems weird to me, but you have 6 hours coverage of a NFL Top 100.
Oh, happy anniversary, by the way. It's not, I don't even know these things. Thank God you guys tweet this kind of stuff out. 8 years for you, right?
Yeah, 8 years ago.
Are you starting? You're starting year 9 or year 8 now?
It was 8 years my first article today, so I guess it's 8 years in a day tomorrow. So I get something blue or something borrowed? What do I get from you?
Is that how it works? I don't know.
I don't know. You tell me. You're the married one. You should know this. I'm gonna get you down.
Yeah, that's a good guess. I don't know that kind of stuff. Boy, where's the time gone? You tweeted that out, kind of caught me by. Boy, that first article of yours was something, wasn't it?
Jarvis Jones' debut against the New York Giants. I've outlasted Jarvis Jones.
Wow, and you were looking ahead. It was a play-by-play breakdown. And I think that's usually. That's kind of how you cut your teeth with the site, right? Kind of doing that, and just kind of some quick kind of film study, because you were obviously, were you in high school at the time or college at the time?
No, I was in college. I was going into my junior year.
Oh, okay, in your junior year, okay. But that's how you cut your teeth there, doing that kind of stuff and all. So wow, seems like yesterday. Where's the time gone? But so glad to have you. Obviously, I think we've changed each other's lives for the better. Or at least I'd like to think so. But congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you for giving some dumb kid the opportunity back in 2013, and now a slightly older dumb kid an opportunity right now. I appreciate that.
Boy, it was so hard to try to get you through college, man.
Was it?
I wanted you. If it was up to me, you would have kind of been more fuller time, I think, at the time. But you obviously your time was limited because you had to go to school and all like that, and I think you gamed a little bit more at the time back then too, didn't you?
Probably. I mean, it was college dorm room life, so that sounds about right. All right, Dave, enough of that nostalgia trip. Let's talk about the nostalgia. Well, do you want to start with Joe Schobert? Because we got a million things on Joe Schobert today. Or do you want to recap the NFL Top 100?
Real quick. Cameron Hayward is the first Steeler on the list at 57th overall, and 5 spots ahead of him is Minkah Fitzpatrick at 52nd overall. Minkah down from last year. Cameron Hayward up considerably from last year, and I'm guessing that those two and T.J. Watt will be the only one. I don't know. You think Chase Claypool will end up in the top?
No.
There's no way he ends up in the top 40, right?
No, not a chance. I think it's Watt, and that's it. I don't think any other Steeler's going to make the again, these rankings are meaningless. Let's all preface that. But Hayward I was surprised Hayward actually jumped, considering the 4-sack season. I think he had a really good year, but I figured people will kind of look at the 4 sacks and not have him make a big jump. So I was happy to see that I can live with 57. Make it 52 to drop, 17 spots from last year. I don't know what he did to drop 17 spots, but he's not the 52nd best player. He's a lot higher in my mind.
Yeah, and I guess this will be the first time. Well, I mean, I guess was Ben. I guess there's been other years that Ben hasn't made a list. Obviously, after the surgery season and all, but he obviously won't be on this year's list. I mean, you telling me you can't fit him in the top 100 players after the kind of the season? I mean, what an awful season last year. I mean, let's face it. I mean, this team went 11-0 at one point. There was a period of time there, minor rumblings that maybe he's gonna maybe have a shot at least comeback player of the year. But. Anyway, they don't mean anything. I'm not convinced the amount of players vote in this thing that they claim vote in this, but I don't know. Only 3 players on the list this year after the team won the AFC North on top of it, too. So interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with Ben not being top 100. I had no expectation that he was going to be there, nor do I think I would rank him in the top 100 if I had to put together a personal list.
Would you put Baker Mayfield where he is, 70-something?
I mean, probably not. I mean, I might have him somewhere in that 90 range. Again, I don't have a list here, obviously, so right. I'm not surprised by him being in the top 100. For Ben, though, I wouldn't have him there. I think he's better than what many in the national media believed, but do I think he's a top 100 player in the NFL right now? No, I do not.
All right. I'm sure people are enthralled us talking about this. So, as
Very
you said,
stuff.
there is a lot of Joe Schobert stuff to talk about here.
There is. He was at practice today for the Steelers for the first time. The practice was closed to the public, so we could not be there, unfortunately. We will be back out there for the final 2 days of training camp, Tuesday and Wednesday. Player day off on Monday today, if you're listening to this, which I hope you are, and obviously you are. Joe Schobert will wear number 45 for the Steelers, although he made sure on Twitter to clarify that is a temporary number, so I think he's going to change that after the preseason ends and before the regular season. What number he'll switch to is meaningless, but I don't know what number it's going to be because the number he wore in Jacksonville was 47. That's unofficially retired from Mel Blount. He wore 53 at Cleveland, and that's worn by Kendrick Green, and he wore 58 in college, which is worn by no one because it's retired for unofficially so for Jack Lambert, and he wore 23 in high school, which is worn by Joe Hayden. So he'll be having to sport a new number whenever he decides upon in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I imagine it'll be probably one of those linebacker numbers. I would guess. I don't know. If Ulysses Gilbert don't make it, maybe 54. Jamar Watson has 50. That seems like it's a very possible number for him to get right there. And Kristen Kuntz has 46. He might be on the way out, so that maybe that's a possibility. But I mean, Schobert's already got 45. Why would he only want to go up number one? I'm willing to guess he's wanting something in the 50s there.
Yeah, I think 50 is my guess, but doesn't really matter. Obviously, the more important thing is his play. And before we get into that, I thought he had some interesting comments. You had their article on this, that this is going to be his 6th defensive scheme in 6 years, 4 years in Cleveland, but with all the coaching changes, a new defensive scheme every single season. And, of course, his year in Jacksonville last season, and now he's in Pittsburgh. So, while it is a new scheme and a new change for him, not an uncommon situation for Schobert to be in.
Yeah, look, this will probably be, barring something happening, will dominate probably the early portion of the work week here when it comes to, local talk radio here because of the fact that, he is going to have to learn another scheme here. But this goes back to what we talked about just the other day upon the news that he was being traded to the Steelers was the fact that this guy is an extremely smart guy, and the fact that he's already had to pick up 5 other schemes throughout his NFL career, the fact that there's still 4 full weeks, as we're recording this, 4 full weeks until the first game, I would be a little bit more concerned if this was a situation where it's a week and a half before the start of the season. But heck, even that happened with Joe Hayden many moons ago. In comes Joe Hayden, picks up the scheme right away. Now, obviously, it sounds like it certainly does sound like you're going to have a guy like Joe Schobert wear the green dot. And kind of funny, we talked about that, I think, in one of the shows there over the weekend there. But if indeed that's the case, the fact that he's got 4 full weeks now to pick this up, I'm not the least concerned about it, Alex. I got to be quite honest with you. The oh no button never went off with me, and it wasn't an eventful day for him. In so many words, I think he's been told that he's going to wear the green dot. Didn't we kind of discuss that at the end of one of those shows just the other day? There, I kind of wondered maybe if that it might be that might be the plan for him. It sounds like it is. I think it's an exceptional move, to be quite honest with you. And I don't know how you can't look at this as maybe some sort of negative when it comes to a guy like Devin Bush, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, just to talk about Schobert with the scheme, one benefit is his rookie year in 2016 with Cleveland, his DC was Ray Horton, who was a Steelers' longtime secondary coach. And we had that conversation with Avery Williamson last year that Williamson was coached by Horton in Tennessee, and that kind of, to some degree, eased that learning curve of picking up the Steelers scheme. So I'm not worried about Schobert having to pick up the playbook at all. I think we'll be good to go for week one. To the actual role, yeah, some really interesting comments there. Here's what we know so far is that Schobert obviously is going to start just in general. He's running over Spillane already today. And that according to Schobert, he will wear, the plan is for him to sooner than later wear the green dot. And the question then becomes, does that mean he will be the every down, 3-down linebacker for this team, a role that Devin Bush held last season? He had the green dot last year before his injury, or not. That, I think, is still a little up in the air. But what we do seem to know, according to Schobert at least, is that he will wear the green dot. And, yeah, that can't be taken as a positive for Devin Bush.
Right. And, the talk's been all offseason about how important it is to get the Devin Bush, the quarterback of the defense, back. But at the same time, there sort of has been this feel that Devin, they want Devin to talk more, to be a better communicator out there. And if indeed this winds up being the plan, that Joe Schobert ends up being the quarterback of the defense and wearing, not only wearing the green dot, but being out there. And look, you would think if he's wearing the green dot, he's going to be an every down player, right? That means he's going to be the dime backer, the nickel backer, whatever. And all instant, barring injury, Schobert's going to be on the field. I don't see how that can be viewed, It's just not all the way around. This is not good for Devin Bush. I mean, this is a guy that you traded up, for God's sakes, in the draft to go get. This is a guy that you were kind of staking on being that guy, that green dot guy, that leader of the defense there. That hasn't happened yet. And this, and look, I mean, you could have brought Joe Schobert in just the same and still let Devin wear that green dot, and a lot of people think nothing of it because this team needed to upgrade the position opposite Devin Bush. But if indeed it winds up being the Schobert calling the defense, once again, what does this mean as far as the coaching staff and their thoughts on Devin Bush, not only now, but maybe the next year or two here?
Sure. No, I understand that. Now, the counter to that I've seen a lot is they want to just manage Devin Bush's snaps coming off the ACL and just put less on his plate. And I understand where that argument comes from, but I don't really buy it because, if he's good to go, he's good to go for week one. I mean, he's going to be healthy by then. He's basically healthy now. So
you wouldn't have had him out there in that second preseason game if he's not healthy, because Kevin Colbert used to refer going way on back to, I think, Mendenhall and specifically Mendenhall. I remember him saying, "Look, this is they used to treat that sort of knee injury as a year-long injury." Sure. But obviously medical advances and rehabs and all like that has shortened the time significantly now. You're not having Devin Bush out there in a second preseason game if he's not ready to go. So I'm with you. I'm not buying that you're wanting to manage Devin Bush's snaps if he's already playing in a second preseason game. If we were sitting here closing in on the start of the regular season and he has not played in any preseason games, sure, I'm right along with that narrative, but not right now, brother.
Yeah, and just the idea, well, he's good to play 700 snaps this season, but not good to play 1,000. I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense when you actually really think about it critically. So, again, I understand the sentiment behind it, but I don't think it really works in action. If he's good to go, he's good to go. Zach Banner's not playing rotational snaps this year once he becomes the right tackle for this team. So, and Bush is healthy by all appearances and is moving around fine. And really, to his credit, attacked his rehab aggressively. Like he was maybe even ahead of schedule. He was good to go basically for day one at training camp, which is super impressive. Void a pup and was out there in pads and working almost right away. So I don't think that theory holds water. But to your point, if Schobert is the every down guy, then yeah, Devin Bush becomes a 2-down player, which is not what he was drafted to be. He was drafted to be the every down, ultra coverage, elite athlete kind of guy. And he's had his struggles in coverage. He's had some improvement in coverage last season. I thought I saw him improve in coverage last season. Camp's been a mixed bag so far. But if that is the case, then that is a concerning sign for Devin Bush.
I think this also speaks to his ability to communicate on the defensive side of football as well too. They're not getting that portion, getting that out of him, or as well. So I think it speaks to that as well too. Now it's way early for this, but I can't help this kind of stuff runs through my brain, so I've got to talk about it if it does. What does this mean about the prospects of Devin Bush's fifth-year option eventually being picked up?
Yeah, I haven't thought about it one lick.
I have.
Honestly, I'm not surprised you have. So I'm just going to get through this season, see how things go before we start talking about all that future stuff. I'll talk about that more in the future. So I don't know what the implications to that could be.
I mean, it's not moving in the right direction. So no. I'm not saying that. Look, a lot of things can change, and the kids obviously had the off. It's been just a weird off season for him, has it not? Obviously having to recuperate from that knee injury, and that that's on your mind, and probably the mental anguish that goes into trusting the process and everything like that. But the whole social media thing, I don't know about you, I wasn't thrilled with his response the other day about the whole they can't control what it's my I forget the exact phrasing that he used, but he could have used a better quote there, I thought. I'm not going to grill a guy. Look at me. It's social media. These guys got to try to improve their brand any way they can, off the field. I don't think he's going about it the right way with his social media account, but I mean, I'm not going to crucify him at the same time. It's just been a weird off season for him all the way around, and this makes it look even weirder right now. But I will say this, I don't want to spend our time focusing on Devin Bush here. I was thrilled to see him go out there and improve the position, or at least add to the position group, especially what we saw in the first couple of preseason games. No way in the world would I thought they have been able to go after a guy like Joe Schobert. And once again, it goes back to what we have said, not only in the previous podcast, but before that when he was a member of other organizations. This is a guy that I think you and I really, really respect, especially his football IQ, and I think they're a better team in the inside linebacker room than they were a week ago with the addition of Joe Schobert.
I agree, and I love the clip that you had posted when he was mic'd up last year against the Lions, and you definitely saw a clear vocal communicator, and so I have no doubt he can do that job well, and he is a good coverage linebacker. I mean, the guy has 7 interceptions the last 2 years, the most of any linebacker in football. Now, the quality of those can be a little mixed bag, but the guy can cover. I don't doubt that. I will say, though, The tweet that I saw initially was that, Schobert said that he would play the dime backer role. But the quote he said was, quote, "Right now they've got me learning the dime linebacker and the Mac backer and Okie personnel, so just getting that stuff underway." So, of course, he's going to learn it because, even if he wasn't the guy, he'd be one snap away from being the guy if there was an injury. So I just, I think it's still a little up in the air of if he's going to be the dime guy. Now, of course, if he's wearing the green dot, logic would tell you that he will, but I do want to just clarify that comment because I think he said he was learning it, not necessarily that he's been told he's going to play it come week 1.
All right, so sort of a safety hatch there, right?
Yeah, well, again, the tweet that I saw was just that, Schobert says he's going to play the dime linebacker role this year, and he's saying he's learning the dime linebacker role. And so I think there is a difference there because, of course, you're going to learn everything that you might do or, will be asked to do. So I don't know what's going to happen. My guess right now, Schobert will be the 3-down guy, but we'll see what the first dime snap looks like in week 1 against Buffalo.
How shocked are you by this if that's ends up what transpires here?
Pretty shocked. That would not. But I thought it would have been a Vince Williams, Devin Bush situation last year, where Bush had the green dot. He was a 3-down guy, but Schobert was like the really strong communicator and could kind of really facilitate that stuff right alongside Devin Bush.
Well, I'm less shocked because I'm the one that threw it out there. What about the possibility of him maybe wearing a green dot the other day? So,
yeah.
But I mean, it is. I wouldn't have bet my house that would have happened. I just thought it was worth because he is such a good communicator. And almost every place he's gone, I think he's been the green dot guy. So. Look, anything. Hey, I don't want to hear Keith Butler talk about communication every other press conference this year either, right?
Right.
So if putting Schobert in charge of that defense there helps solve a lot of that, I'm all for it, man.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm all for it too. And Bush, I think, has made some improvements in coverage, but he's had his struggles there as well. So we'll see what happens, but certainly be watching it closely.
Where are you now on this? Look, I mean, just before training camp started, I mean, or since mandatory minicamp has ended, I've thought all along that this defense was going to be good. Did not think it was. I thought it was going to take a step backwards from the unit that they had last year because you lose the guys, a couple of the guys that they had lost in Dupree and Mike Hilton, and obviously cutting bait with Steven Nelson there. My thought process throughout this thing has been this defense is going to go backwards to some degree. How much that move backwards has become smaller, I think, in my mind these last few weeks because you add guys like Melvin Ingram, you add guys like Joe Schobert. I mean, those guys are experienced guys and come off as very extremely smart guys. I mean, is there a chance now that this defense will be right in the same neighborhood of the one that we saw last year?
I think it'll still be a step back just based on the secondary play and some of the losses there that haven't been addressed. You talk about the slot role, the outside corner role. Will you be as good as you were last season? The overall depth of that group, I don't think you will be. But in terms of the front seven, I think it looks a lot better now. You feel much more comfortable about the edge depth. You feel comfortable with Schobert being the guy over Spillane next to Devin Bush, potentially being the 3-down guy. So I think the front seven will continue to be one of the best front sevens in football.
Kevin Colbert could probably walk into a Burger King and order a Big Mac and get it.
You come up with that one?
No, that's old Chuck Norris. You can take almost, you go look at anything Chuck Norris related, you can probably almost put Kevin Colbert in there at this point here. But no, and I use that because look, I mean, we now have the full details. And I think didn't we at least know the other day that was a 6th-round draft pick or no?
I believe we did, but the days are running together, so let's recap everything about the trade.
Okay, so the Steelers gave up a 6th-round pick in the 2022 NFL Draft to acquire Schobert from the Jacksonville Jaguars. At the time, there was still the question mark about whether or not the Jaguars were going to assume any of the salary. There was then a report from our buddy John from the Florida Times.
John Reed.
John Reed, from Florida Times Union that said that the Steelers were going to have to take on the full $7 million. I wrote about that, and then early this morning, Sunday morning, there was a report from Mike Florio on Pro Football Talk that the Jaguars are assuming half of what Joe Schobert's on the books to make, which is the $7 million base salary and the $300,000 in roster bonuses that he can earn there. So $3.65 million specifically is reportedly, and we'll see what nothing's official until it's official, right? Until we actually see what the NFLPA has to say. But as of right now, it looks like $3.65 million, half of what Schobert's scheduled to make in 2021, is being retained by the Jaguars. And, I mean, to me, it was a good deal just getting Schobert for his 6th-round draft pick. And as we said, anything that you can get the Jaguars to kind of pick up, makes the deal even better there. So there's also a report that they're turning around and, as expected, going to restructure this thing. Converted $2.36 million of his remaining salary to a signing bonus in order to shrink his cap charge. And if the Steelers have left everything else in place here, and once again, we're not going to know the official on this, I think probably until Tuesday morning is probably when this will hit the NFLPA. Maybe we'll get lucky and it'll hit Monday morning. I kind of doubt it though. But I have, to my knowledge, what they'll do is they'll take the remaining base salary, take that down to $990,000. They'll prorate out the rest as a signing bonus, and assuming they leave the roster bonuses all in place there, that should end up with Joe Schobert with a cap charge in 2021 of the low price of $1.88 million. So if indeed Schobert's cap charge is $1.88 million for the Steelers, then that means they will use $1.03 million in available cap space to afford that. Now, the only downside to this, obviously, is you're kicking ahead. $590,000 times 3. What does that equate to?
1.6 rough math.
I forget what the math works out to there, but that's what you risk in potential dead money for Joe Schobert there. So that's and look, I mean, you look at it this way. That $7 million base salary was guaranteed anyway, so you just decide to pay for it over 2 years.
Right,
if indeed you have to cut him. Now, I think whether or not $8.75 million salary in 2022 is fair or not, we'll find out in 2021. So,
right.
But I mean, they're getting this guy basically at really even at a half a cost of $7 million, because once again the Jaguars are eating half of that. So you're not even have that invested in them. So it's a good move for the Steelers all the way around here, especially you add in the fact that the Jaguars are eating half of it there. So
sure.
that's the economics of it, and we'll find out officially what the numbers are come like Monday or Tuesday. But expect this cap charge to be right around $1.88 million.
Really cheap deal for the Steelers. No denying that. But I will say I'm pretty sure Jacksonville was ready to unload him. Like, they were definitely willing to part with whatever they could get for him, just because Urban Meyer and Bulky, they didn't sign him. It's a big contract, so just deal him and get whatever you can get back for him. I know the Schobert said that Bulky, the Jags GM, came to him and said the Steelers were super persistent about trying to get you, and I don't think that's true, considering they gave up a 6th-round pick and the Jags retained half the salary to do that. I just kind of felt like that was trying to make Schobert feel good, or I don't know what it was. But regardless of the circumstances, a cheap deal for Pittsburgh. But I think the Jags were more than happy to unload that contract.
All right, now let's play. Let's interject pessimistic Steeler fan into this, okay? Look, once again, you and I were Joe Schobert fans before this deal even went down, right?
Yeah, I've been a big fan of his, especially those Cleveland days, man. He's always had good games against Pittsburgh.
I mean, you go back and you even look at God bless you, man. Your 2016 profile on him.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I mean, you nailed it on this kid. You said, man, I hope he doesn't end up in Cincinnati.
Yeah, he goes to Cleveland.
Yeah, he goes to Cleveland because you said you don't want to have to play this guy there. And you also talked. Look, he played in a more traditional an even front. I think in college it was like an outside linebacker and did a lot of rushing off the edge there at Wisconsin, right? And I think you even said, look, this is a guy that probably at some point going to have to move inside, which he did. All right, so kudos to you. But I mean, this guy is literally, he's become the player that he was drafted to be, and I think you pegged him as a 3rd-round guy, and you got to tighten up, man. You were off around on him. I'm trying to get you some haters here, but I'm having a trouble doing that. They want to come after me for having Freiermuth's 3rd-round pick instead of the 2nd-round pick there. But
I'm imposing NCAA equivalent self-sanctions on myself to avoid the bigger penalty.
All right. But long story short, this guy became everything that I think that you probably thought he had become in in your breakdown there. So within that, and knowing that you and I both like Joe Schobert before he even set foot in Pittsburgh here, and knowing that him talking about even during his press conference on Sunday, talking about what the Jaguars were doing. They were a 3-4 team, I think he said, last season, making a move to a more 4-3-3-4 hybrid. Was that correct?
I know he said this year was a hybrid. I can't remember last year if he said it was more 4-3 or 3-4. I want to say it was more 4-3, but I don't have the quote in front of me.
I think I'm the one that transcribed it. Hold on a minute here.
Yeah, so you tell me. He said there was definitely a scheme change from last year to this year. This year was more of a hybrid type of system. I don't recall exactly. I thought he said last year was more 4-3, but I could definitely be wrong on that.
Maybe he did. Let me find my own transcribe of the quote here. He said, hold on tight here. Schobert on Jaguars 2020 and 2021 schemes. The scheme is totally different. It was 4-3 last year, a lot of cover 3 base personnel, a little bit of blitzing. This year, it's 3-4, 4-3 kind of hybrid, a lot of blitzing, and everything is somewhat similar in coverage. All right, so they were really going more towards, more of a hybrid, I guess, this year, which would have, probably meant some situations where some 2 middle linebackers on the field there, right? And obviously Miles Jack is one of those. So here's the question here. Once again, let's interject pessimistic Steelers fan in here. Why are the Jaguars so willing to pay a guy over $18.5 million for one season, and who is what is he, 28 now, 27, 28, and willing to dump him not only for a 6th-round draft pick, but pay the undercoating fee on top of it to get him moved out of town to Pittsburgh? What would your response to that be?
New regime, new coaching staff. They didn't pay him $53 million. Trent Baalke didn't pay him. Urban Meyer certainly did not pay him. And so when you get a new regime, you get, guys that are clearing house. As the scheme changes, then Schobert, I'm guessing, was not viewed as a great scheme fit for whatever they were trying to do down there. Now you could question, does that make him a good scheme fit in Pittsburgh or not? But that's besides the point. So I would just say, it's the what happens when a new coaching staff comes in. There's rumblings that the Jaguars are putting their 1st-round pick last year, C.J. Henderson, on the block. And again, of course, Urban Meyer did not draft Henderson. So I think that's just the changing of the guard that occurs when a new regime comes in.
Now, Urban Meyer was asked about that during his press conference last night and pondered off that, special teams and yada yada. You did make it sound like the thing that I struggle with is, man, you would think that this guy, Schobert's been a team player everywhere he's been. Doesn't seem to be any kind of a locker room cancer. Seems to be kind of the leader, the quarterback of the defense. Man, you couldn't work around him just being someone else's player to get another couple seasons out of him. Now I understand they got another young inside linebacker. Maybe it is just all rigid. I guess what I'm getting at there is have you seen anything on tape? I haven't, but I mean, maybe you have. Have you seen anything on tape from last season that would give credence to them maybe wanting to fire sell him, if you will?
Well, I know a lot of fans say he didn't play too well last year. I still have not gotten through much of his last season tape because I've been so focused on camp and the Eagles game and the here and now. So I'm going to hopefully have a better answer for you for our next show.
I'll tell you this: he missed a lot of tackles.
Did he? Is there a missed tackles rate?
Yeah, I mean, he missed like 20 tackles last year, and I think
he has a lot of tackles too, though.
Right, so he does have a lot of tackles too. So, and I was getting to the point where I think he had somewhere in a neighborhood of like 50 stops. And a stop is anything that qualifies as a tackle that results in an unsuccessful play. Okay, so that's technically a stop there. So he was up there in the league in stops. And he also, 3 interceptions too on top of it there, and a handful. What do you have? 2 or 3 sacks, I think, on top of it there. I went through 4 games, and other than the missed tackles, I I didn't see anything that really. I mean, he's obviously not the pass rusher that maybe Vince Williams is.
Right.
But
How did he cover? How was he in coverage?
He was okay. I mean, he's better than what they have now. I tell you that,
Okay.
and better than Devin Bush too. Which I mean, I know Devin has had his struggles, but I thought he looked okay in coverage. Heck, there's one clip of him, man, running with a tight end all the way down the field.
Who was the tight end?
I'm trying to rack my brain.
Yeah.
I don't have it in front of me here,
Okay.
but I mean, I'm talking 30 yards down the field, and doing a good job, of that. But regardless, overall in the games that I watched, there was nothing that stuck out to me that said, man, they got to fire sell this guy off.
Sure. For whatever it's worth, and this number is very subjective, Pro Football Reference has him down for 14 missed tackles last season, a 9% missed tackle rate, the lowest of his career dating back to 2018 when that stat became tracked by PFR. It was 18.9% in 2018, 10.7% last year in 2019, and then 9% last year with Jacksonville. So according to their numbers, and again, this is a subjective stat, his numbers have been decreasing in terms of missed tackles.
PFF had him at 20. So, once again, it's a subjective. We've gone through drops. We go through this with drops every year as well, too. There's, probably I did not look at SIS, so Sports Info Solutions, to see what the number was there.
Yeah. Even if it is 20, that's 12.4%, which is lower than where it was a couple years ago. I mean, so it's, I don't know where that ranks.
In other words, if you're on the field a bunch, and have a lot of tackle attempts, you're gonna. In other words, the actual number is not as concerning when it's put to a percentage.
Right. It's a relative number. He's down for 141 combined tackles according to PFR last year. So again, I don't even know, but I don't know how that number ranks up league wide. 12.7, 9%. Is that good, bad? Where does that rank? Where does that fall league wide? I could not tell you.
All right. So, but look, I mean. They had to do something there based on what we've seen so far, and not only do they have they got their quarterback too. I mean, this is the equivalent of going out and getting a veteran quarterback in my eyes. On top of it there, so I'm ecstatic about the move. Now, whether or not it pays off, we'll see. And whether or not they can get one, at least one good. If they get one great year or one good year out of them, then it's well worth it. I mean, you don't have that much invested, and what else were you going to get this time of year anyway when it comes to that? So once again, I think you got a quality player, a leader, a guy that's extremely, extremely smart. So I don't think they could have done any better than they did when it comes to this deal. Now we'll just see how he plays and see whether or not he can live up to kind of, I guess, the expectations that I have for him.
Right. Yeah. What are things? I'm looking back at past 6-round picks they've given up for players. They traded a 6-round pick in 2017 for J.J. Wilcox. They traded a 6-round pick in 2016 for Justin Gilbert. They traded a 6-round pick in 2015 for Josh Scobie. So it's a low bar to get a player of Schobert's talent for a sixth and the retaining salary is pretty well done.
Right. I mean, you would hope that the bar – look, if Schobert can't be the guy that they hope that he can be, they're in trouble.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, they need to get some stability there. There's been a lot of musical chairs at the position for too long now, basically since Ryan Shazier went down. Of course, they drafted Devin Bush, but even besides him and even with Bush himself, granted partly due to the injury, there's been just a lot of turnover, a lot of guys that have tried that have not really stuck the way probably this team has hoped so.
Look, I mean, you had some eggs in the basket with Ryan Shazier, and then you unfortunately had what happened to him happen. They've been struggling to get, like you just said, they've been struggling to get. This is the center cog of your defense, and the fact that they traded up to get Devin Bush because they because of that being such an important position in today's kind of horizontal game and that kind of stuff, and especially you go back and you look at where has been the biggest downfalls over the last couple of years when it comes to this Steelers defense, and it's the inside linebacker position and most notably in coverage, right? So,
Absolutely.
and then to lose the quarterback of your defense in week 6 last year, sure, they piecemealed it together a little bit there, but it ultimately came back to bite them when it mattered the most. The offense had their woes and turned the football over in the playoff game, but as the season went on last season, the inside linebacker for the Steelers was exposed, and not only did you lose Devin Bush, but you lost Robert Spillane as well too. I mean, you had Avery Williamson and Marcus Allen, for Christ's sakes, playing a large number of snaps for it, and Vince Williams was out with COVID, and so, this is an extremely important move. And like I said about 15 minutes ago when we started this conversation or longer, the fact that they've gone out and added guys like Ingram and Schobert, older guys, maybe you could say guys that other teams didn't want, but to me, this puts them at least closer to the 2020 unit than they were at the start of training camp, at least in my eyes.
I agree with you. I think they're upgrades. However you want to slice it, however you want to quantify it, they're both, I think, undeniable upgrades at this point.
Now, if Schobert's not the guy that you think he is, and if Devin Bush can't take the bull by the horns, then you're probably in trouble with this defense.
Yeah, to some degree. At least the communication has to be right. If nothing else, they better be able to communicate effectively. If they can't do that, then they are in big trouble.
Okay, but I mean, pretty significant kind of 24-hour, I guess, news cycle there with, especially based on everything that Schobert did during practice on Sunday and the things that he said after practice on Sunday.
Mm-hmm. And a quick note from a compensation standpoint, I know we both kind of floated the idea of, listen, this team does not have right now a 4th, 5th, or 6th round pick in next year's draft. There are comp picks that are expected to come, a 3rd, a 5th, maybe another one from Hilton, depending on how that all gets calculated in that crazy formula that is the comp formula. But how about you flip one of these players for even a 7th round pick or a 6th round pick, whether that's a Jordan Berry, Josh Dobbs, maybe a defensive lineman, Isaiah Buggs. I think you had the idea of, Schobert might not be done yet trying to recoup one of those picks back.
I will not be surprised at all if within the next 4 weeks we're talking about them getting a 6th or 7th back, or who knows, maybe a 6th and a 7th back. And heck, I don't think they're done bringing people in the door either. Now, obviously, not at a more, I'm not talking about a guy more than minimum at this point, but I could still see some vet around the league, maybe a center or a backup safety or something like that coming in the door and making the 53 at an uber cheap price, and I can see maybe Colbert flipping some of these guys as well too for like you said, a 6th or a 7th. I will not be shocked at all. It's what he does.
Yeah, he's very active this time of year, so again, it would not shock me one bit. I think any of those names I mentioned could have enough value. I know people will laugh at Jordan Berry, but listen, they traded Brad Wing for a 7th round pick to the Giants. That after Berry won the job, I think. So, that could kind of repeat itself in terms of Berry being shipped out.
It makes it absolutely useless while Kevin Colbert's the GM of this team to do roster predictions.
That's true. We'll keep doing them, though.
We'll keep doing them because it's what we do. But, I mean, expect the article every year from me that states at least 3 more players will be coming, and because that seems to be status quo.
Yeah, so I'm excited with the Schobert and the Ingram acquisitions. The Trey Turner one, again, I think, what was your plan B if it wasn't Trey Turner? But he still makes me nervous. I still don't have a high degree of confidence of that one working out the way we hope that it will.
Got to get better in space, man.
Yeah, that's what I was worried about. Some of those second-level blocks, he's not a good mover in space. And we can blame the knee injury and the groin injury last year all we want, but he's not going to be that functional in space. I'm worried.
In a phone booth, moving them straight ahead and the physicality and all, okay, but I think we saw the limitations of him in that Eagles game just in the few snaps that he played. Just getting, he's not the quicker version of himself that he was way back. I mean, the best version of him, I think it was the 2018 version of him, wasn't it? 17 or 18 version of him. He's not that player anymore now. If you're going to want to try to get these guards on the move and out in space, man, it's got to get better than what we saw the other night, I think. And I mean, you tell me you've watched the practices so far. Is that kind of what you're seeing in practices too?
Yeah, I have, and probably more so in practice because it's easier for me to see, especially in some of the O-line, D-line work. It's just him losing to the outside in pass rush situations. I'm just worried about him being able to secure and seal the edge. I think that's going to give him an issue this season.
What else is there? From it sounded like Kalen Ballage and Benny Snell were back at work.
Yeah, it sounded like they were back practicing. Kendrick Green missed his second day with the excused absence. We obviously do not have a full injury report because we were not there, but teams, I think, overall trending in the right direction health-wise.
Yeah, I think Trey Turner was back to work. Did you read anything on McLeod or James Washington?
They were working to some extent. I don't know if they were in team. I couldn't cobble that together from the tweets. But my goal, Dave, here's my goal for the last 2 days of camp, Tuesday, Wednesday. Will the projected first-team offensive line take a full snap together, left to right, as a 5 in team? It has not happened yet. I thought today might be the day, but Kendrick Green missed practice again. So we got 2 more days to hopefully see one snap of the projected 5 working together. Let's hope it happens.
Yeah, that sure needs to happen. I'll bet that it does, but I mean, here's the hope, and that's right here. Look, this next preseason game, they need to get some things figured out on the offensive side of that ball. Obviously, Ben Roethlisberger is going to play. What do you take out of the word that Haskins getting the first team 2-minute offensive snaps today?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because I'm not there. Obviously, how did things look in the other team sessions, for example? I'm guessing had Haskins been running ahead of Rudolph, someone would have commented on it. 2-minute can be weird because they don't always follow the depth chart to a T. There are days where it could be Rudolph and Dobbs or Haskins and Dobbs, and it doesn't necessarily follow the depth chart. But the fact that Haskins and Rudolph both worked and Haskins was ahead of Rudolph is at least semi-interesting to me.
All right, now what about the point that that's being made the story and not the fact that Mike Tomlin said the biggest story to come out of that session was Cameron Sutton not securing an interception from Dwayne Haskins that led to Haskins ultimately leading it depends on who paints the narrative, right?
Sure, yeah. Again, I think there's a little something there. I mean, it caught my attention a little bit because Rudolph was in that. Now, had it been Haskins and Dobbs working, then it would have been a non-story to me. But again, I don't want to overreact to that one piece of news.
I still think that this is all by design to get a good look at Haskins, which they should be trying to do.
Right, yeah. And again, 2-minute can be a little weird because the depth chart semi goes out the window in that situation. I mean, Zach Banner, for example, didn't work in 2-minute the other day because they don't want him still, I guess, fully running and some of the hurry-up stuff. So just some context there is probably important.
Anything you can you're not there, so it's hard to disseminate what else has happened. But anything else kind of stick out from what is being reported to have happened, to have had happen on Sunday? Is it Is it to have happened or to have had happen?
To have happened. Ooh, now you're confusing me, second guessing me. I don't know. I'm not. We're 2 halves of a whole idiot, Dave. I don't know. Which one.
Well, thanks a lot. I don't know about. Thanks a lot for only giving me half credit. I'll have you know I'm a full idiot.
Full idiot. Oh, my apologies. I don't know, but putting that aside, it's tough. I mean, and I get in my own head because, like, when you're not at camp and, like, the stuff that you could be seeing but you're not seeing. So I try to take all that stuff today with a grain of salt.
All right, so we'll get full reports from you tomorrow. What else? What else do we have to talk about on this? We're pretending is Monday morning.
Right, Sunday night as we're recording it. Any other thoughts from the Eagles game? I think we did a better job reviewing the Eagles game on the last podcast than we did the Cowboys game. So any other
because I got that tape circulated faster.
Right, and I've found the wormhole to get Game Pass quicker because Game Pass is still a mess, but we won't talk about that anymore. So any other thoughts here with the Eagles game?
Trying to think what we haven't maybe covered.
Right.
In that, and I guess one of you guys are going to address this, and I think we did a little bit maybe the other night or day or whatnot. I I think Cuomo Okorafor played a little bit better than what he's being given credit for. I don't think he's going to make the Pro Bowl off that performance there. My biggest concern out of what I saw with the starting offensive line, I think we've already covered. The Trey Turner in space and Kendrick Green. You kind of wonder in certain situations with that power rush if he's going to be able to hold up in that aspect of things there. The running game, I think we addressed that. I mean, Anthony McFarland, I think, played a good game. Going to be interesting to see Ballage and Snell maybe get some work in this next preseason game. Defensive side of football, I'm trying to think if there's anything that we left uncovered there. And really, I can't, other than maybe, I think you broke down some of UG3's play from the other night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just been disappointing. And I know sample size can be a mitigating factor, like 45 defensive snaps in 2 games, but just some of the coverage stuff, the 2 missed tackles across his first 2 games, just not seeing the same guy. And certainly even before the Schobert deal, I think he was starting to fade. And certainly after the Schobert acquisition, I think UG3 is not outside looking in, but I have the full post on Steelers Depot.
As far as quarterback play goes, I still sit after watching it. I think I watched it 2 more times. I thought both quarterbacks played fine. I don't see where there's any, at least, Rudolph sucked. I thought Haskins outplayed him, or I don't think there's, Haskins was benefit of this. So Rudolph, I come away from that game thinking both those guys played well, and it kind of circles back to kind of what we said before even the preseason got started, right? You got 3 experienced quarterbacks there, and this isn't their first rodeo. You would hope that in their preseason action that all of them would play well.
I think Haskins fit to take a step forward from the Cowboys game to the Eagles game, though.
Oh, yeah, most definitely, especially with his ability to push the football down the field. I mean, because what was his average attempt was like I don't know what I say it was, 0.75 yards or something like that. And you followed up with a game where really basically if you include end zone yardage is right about 7, both attempted and completed air yardage. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Rudolph's numbers was almost exactly the same for that. So if there was any of the 2 quarterbacks that made the biggest jump from the Cowboys games to the Eagles game, by far it was Haskins, easily.
Yeah.
No, I agree. And if there's one quarterback that took a step backwards, it was Dobbs.
I'm with you on both of those counts. A couple other notes I do have. Quincy Rochet, I like his ability to flatten and corner and just has some good, hip and ankle flexibility. That rip move has gotten 1.5 of his 1.5 sacks so far this preseason. So some good stuff from him. And interesting note here, we don't have the offensive charting from the Eagles game yet, correct?
Yeah, Tom sent it.
Oh, he did? I don't think I got it. All right, I'll have to pester Tom for it. What
do you need to know?
They did not run pony in that game, right? No pony sets, 2 running back sets. I'm almost certain they did, and I think I would have noticed it had they had done so.
Let's see, offensive for.
And they didn't do it versus Dallas, so I'm guessing they have not done it. And I say that to say they're still doing it in camp. They've done it so much in camp, so is that something they're trying to hide from teams? I mean, why practice it as much as they have? Like probably 10% of their snaps in practice have had pony backfields. If you're not going to run it in game. So is that something you're just trying to not put on tape for opposing teams for week 1?
I see 121 personnel, 221 personnel groupings.
I mean, Watt played. So
right.
There's some Derek Watt snaps in there, and Trey Edmonds getting some work at fullback.
I see another 21 with let me move this out of the way, make sure to see the fullback here. There's one of them with Watt, another one. Yeah, I'm not seeing.
Not seeing it.
I see some obviously with Trey Edmonds in too. There's right. 21.
And that's him as a fullback.
Right, but that's with him as a fullback there. I'm
almost certain they haven't done it.
Okay, I think you're right here. I don't have it sorted, but I mean, sure. I'll have Tom fire that over to you.
Okay, but the point is, I get the feeling that they're hiding it or trying to hide it. We're exposing it, I think, decently. If you're listening, Sean McDermott and company. But I just that was a note I had because again they're still doing it at camp. It hasn't gone away, but they have not done it in the game yet.
Okay.
There's an interesting note there. Any other final thoughts here from the Eagles game?
Trey
Edmonds looked decent in that game.
Yeah,
I give him a lot of crap, but he was all right.
Who of Rochet and Jameer Jones is the most valuable guy? I mean, both of. If one of them makes it, it's probably going to come at Marsh's expense, right?
Yeah, I still think they keep 9 linebackers total.
It's kind of hard to justify keeping 5 outside linebackers. It really, really is.
Yeah, because they're going to probably keep 5 inside unless you cut Marcus Allen, which could happen, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Right. And, I mean, the odds of them keeping 5 normally inside linebackers make better special teams players than outside linebackers.
Yeah.
Generally.
I think it can be either.
All right. Well, I mean, Jones, both of those guys are doing their best to stick out. I just don't think that they've got enough of I think Marsh would have Danny Smith's eye a little bit more than the other two still, even though both of them are occasionally kind of showing up in there. Now, if Marsh was the odd man out, let's frame it this way. If Marsh was the odd man out, which one are you leaning toward keeping? Because both of them, odds of both of them are making it are slim, even if Marsh is out.
Sure. Are you asking that in terms of what I think the Steelers will do, or what I would do?
Yes.
Okay. I think I would keep Jameer Jones. What would the team do? I think it could go either way, but I would lean more towards them keeping Rochet over Jameer Jones.
I would go with, and I'm going to get flack for this. I like Quincy Rochet. I think there's definitely something there to work with, but I think they have more confidence in where Jameer Jones is, and I think Jameer Jones has also flashed just a hair bit more in all phases. Mm-hmm. So I would think that my choice would be Jameer Jones, and I think the team's choice would be Jameer Jones, and that's no disrespect to Quincy Rochet at all. Right. I think if you go back to a couple of days ago or last week when Keith Butler was talking about how Rochet's never played linebacker, I think that was a key statement in there. And then he followed it up with talking about how Danny Smith, impressed Danny Smith, and we have some say, but Danny Smith gets the final call and that, yada yada. I just think him setting that up with Rochet not really playing linebacker, whereas Jameer Jones has a little bit, tiny bit. I'm reading a lot into that. I'll just put it to you that way.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, it could go either way. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked by however they do that, but
I'm not throwing anything if they kept either one of them, you could make an argument that, I mean, easily that Marsh is not a lock. I mean, but just you would think that his resume with special teams does count for something when it comes to Danny Smith. We'll see. I mean, could it very well come down to Cassius Marsh being cut in favor of either Jameer Jones or Rochet? Yeah, I think that's totally plausible. Our job is to really not project so much what we would do as much as what we think the team will do.
Right. And I think the team will still keep Cassius Marsh.
Right. That's where I'm at as well, too.
Speaking, though, of cuts, Dave, by the time we talk again on Wednesday, the Steelers will have had to make their first roster cuts of the preseason. The roster going down from
do this
90 to 85 here Tuesday at 4 p.m. I hate this rule in general. They'll make another cut from 85 to 80, I think, a week after the 17th. But had a projected list here of the first 5 guys to be cut. And I won't make you go through it and make your projections unless you would like to. But
I got to. Any opportunity to be right, I'll do it.
Fair point. My projected 5 cuts, and I don't root for any of this. I don't think they should be cutting guys until they go 90 to 53 like they were doing. But anyway, my 5 projected cuts are offensive guard Brandon Walton, defensive lineman TJ Carter, young, fast Petey Guerrero, the running back, wide receiver Tyler Simmons, maybe a semi-surprise here, cornerback Steven Denmark are my projected 5 cuts.
All right. I will go fast Petey, I think, unfortunately, with with Ballage and Benny Snell coming back, I don't.
Running back has to be cut. They have 8 running backs.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think Fast Petey's one of them. So that's one of them for me. I think where is it here? I'm trying to find this. Jamar Watson. I mean.
Okay.
I don't see Jamar Watson making it past this week. T.J. Carter's another one that I think is out the door. That's 3. It's got to be at least one offensive lineman out the door, and I'm with you with Brandon Walton being one, and I think
he could be waived injured, by the way, because he was not at practice on.
That's true. That's true. So that's in the favor right there. And then I would think maybe a wide receiver possibly, right?
Yeah, they have 11 of them. I don't think they need 11. That's why I went Tyler Simmons as the odd man out there. Just because he's not really playing on special teams and he's done only scant work on offense. And I think McCoy and Sexton and Johnson and even Cody White are going to be kept over him.
Okay, I'll go that way with you then. So where did we differ there? I think me with the linebacker Watson is the difference between you and Denmark. I think you had Denmark, and I think I have Watson, right?
Yeah,
I think that's
Watson,
the only difference.
It is. I did consider that. I just look at that last preseason game. Watt's not going to play. Ingram's not going to play. I doubt Highsmith plays. So that if you cut Watson, you'd be down to 3 outside linebackers, right? Jameer Jones, Quincy Rochet, and Cassius Marsh. I think you want to have a 4th one there.
Right. Now, Sloman, could Sloman be in there?
Nah, I think they keep all the specialists because they don't want to play any of their starters in that last game. And obviously they're going to keep Barry and Harvin. So I don't think you're going to – because you want Boswell kicking in the last game and getting hurt or something.
Right. What do you think about Dan Moore
fighting everyone again?
Huh?
Fighting everyone again?
No, not that. The fact that it looks like, it's not a surprise to us. We kind of predicted that even through all this hype with Dan Moore that Chikwama Okorafor is still going to be your week 1 left tackle. But it seems like there's just more of a what do you read into there seeming to be a more of a concerted effort to get Dan Moore more comfortable on the right side and potentially swing. I guess what I'm getting at here is Joe Haig in trouble? Could Joe Haig be in trouble or no?
When you say in trouble, define that for me.
Well, and possibility of being cut.
Yeah. If you want to we talked about surprise cuts the other day. Could that be one? I can get on board with that, sure. But I think the mere fact of Moore playing right tackle doesn't necessarily suggest that because they've always cross-trained their backups to play both spots. So that's not new. But, Moore's had it overall. I think he's shown a lot of improvement, definitely. And Tomlin pointed it out the other day. And Haig, he's been fine. I think his run blocking is much better than his pass protection. But if they like Moore that much and they feel like they can dump Haig, then yeah, I think that's it's a little out there, but I kind of like it in terms of things that are out there.
Right. We talked about potential surprise cuts. Maybe he could be it because look, if you've got much more confidence in Moore at this point to potentially be your swing guy, wouldn't you dress him?
Yeah.
And if you dress him, who's not dressing?
Yeah, they're not going to dress 4 tackles. The question is, though, if Haig gets cut, who's your 9th offensive lineman then? Do you just keep Finney, Hassenauer, and Coward and roll with just 3 actual offensive tackles?
Yeah, might be an option. I don't know.
Yeah, or I guess you could claim somebody, or I maybe. Yeah, it's an interesting topic.
Or does a guy like Chaz Green somehow make it, and you don't dress him, but you have at least his experience because he's a guy that plays both guard and tackle.
If Chaz Green makes his 53, that was a mistake. I'm keeping Joe Haig over Chaz Green all day. It's not like Haig's costing you that much money.
Right. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, it's a good thought. I totally get where your head is at.
All right. What else do we have to talk about?
I think we just have some reader emails to get to and close out today's show.
All right. How long have we been talking tonight here?
About an hour. Yeah. 1 hour.
About an hour. All right. Let's go to the email machine here real quick and see what we have. I know we got a few in here.
Steelers Depot Metroplex.
There we go. Slippage. Let's see from Zach Mandel. Hey, fellas, I'll get straight to the point for you on this Monday. Why the heck does Deontay Johnson slip so often? Alex mentioned it from practice the other day, at least twice in the Eagles game, including the catch down the sideline. And I know y'all have tracked this back to his Toledo days. I sure did, didn't I? If it were just a cleats thing, you'd think he'd fix it by now. Maybe it's only a question of speculation. I don't know. Anyway, thanks for your great work, Zach. I wish I had an answer for you. A good answer for you. This has indeed happened all the way back to Toledo days, and I don't know if it's just the way he comes out of those breaks so damn quick or what, but he does end up slipping out of breaks quite a bit, and you've got to see it at practice a lot, Alex. I mean, or are we just catching that at the right time in games or whatnot? But it sure does seem like he does slip a lot, and I would think that it's more than the cleats at this point.
Yeah, at this point, if it was the shoes and it wasn't corrected by now, then some equipment guys are getting fired. I don't think that's the issue. I think it's probably just he moves so quick and is able to change directions or tries to change directions so quickly that it causes him to slip more. So I think that's probably just the issue.
It does, Zach. It does happen a lot, and it was something that I was really noticeable on his college tape, and I think you recognize that by saying that we've noted that all the way back to his college days. I wish. Go ahead.
Is there a way to fix that? Like, is there a weight transfer thing they can work on? Is there a way to coach slipping less, putting the cleats aspect aside?
Man,
I have no idea.
That's that'd be a better answer for a former wide receiver, I guess. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing you can probably do some things to try to work on that. Maybe not solve it, but mitigate it. But I don't know the answer.
I don't know the answer to that either. But he sure does seem to slip a lot. Hillbilly, greetings. Do you think they need to make any additions to upgrade at cornerback or any trades for the O-line before the season starts? I think they're done at cornerback now, unless just a great experienced slot guy were to slip into their hands or something. At this point, I would be surprised. I think if this team adds anything now at this point, I would think it would be a center, a veteran center, or a backup free safety type that can play on special teams. That's where I think they're down to as possibilities to add to this team still. I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're happy with what they have at cornerback right now.
I think there's enough options there that they can make it work. I'm with you on free safety. I think, interior line overall could be an area, but I think even guard more so than center. I think they like Hassenauer. Of course, they have Green and Finney's there. I know Finney, and Hassenauer can play guard, but for Rashad Coward has to play this year. I mean, there's some potential there, but he is not ready to play today and not going to be ready by week 1. So do you look for an upgrade as an actual true guard? I mean, I would certainly be perusing the waiver wire.
Yeah, I would as well too. I still think I don't think Kevin Colbert's done. I've said this several times. I would be surprised if there's not more another move or two on the way here. Let's see. Michael Galupo writes in cap space. With the possible restructure of Joe Schobert's contract and most likely Tuitt and Boswell's and the money kicked down the road in general, will there be any room to re-sign Roethlisberger next year? He's already starting to worry about maybe some of this can kickage down here next year if it goes out and has a great year in 2021. Don't get me wrong, I love the Schobert trade and the aggressiveness of Kevin Colbert, but I'm the optimist that thinks Ben will still look like a way better option than Mason or Haskins at the end of this season. Then what would happen? Michael, look, I get it. And I don't think, as we sit here right now, I don't think you can still totally discount the chance of Roethlisberger maybe trying to play in 2022. Cap-wise, I don't think they would have, look, we've already seen, look at all the changes that have happened this offseason and where they're still at cap-wise right now just for this season alone, Mm-hmm. It's quite amazing what all has happened. Now, obviously, we went into this not knowing that this team was going to cut Steven Nelson and David DeCastro and what else has happened? Some of the avoidable years stuff and all like that there. So you can work. I guess what I'm getting at is, we've seen once again how massageable the cap actually is, right?
Sure.
So there's ways to work around it almost in any situation there. So I guess what I'm trying to say there is if they want Roethlisberger back, it's not like he's going to cost you $30 million, I wouldn't think, right? And if that's the case, then they should be able to afford something, even if they had to do more voidable years with him along those lines there. And I'm trying to get you a cap number from where I think they sit right now. Roughly about.
This is for next year's?
No, right now. Yeah.
Okay.
Probably around 10.8 million about right now, and that's assuming the Schobert contract comes in about what we think it will come in at. Let's see, 140, so about 10.75, something like that is where they should be at about cap space right now after the Joe Schobert move. I think roughly is where I have them.
It's a little too vague for me.
Okay,
10.75. Can you get it closer to like the penny, please?
I'm slipping. But I mean, here's the thing about the Schobert thing. Once again, it's not like they only restructured. What did we say? They restructured 2 point something.
Yeah, 2.3.
Yeah. So it's not like they kicked a lot, but yeah, I mean, every little bit adds up there. So, Mike, I guess long story short is if they get in a situation where they want Ben Roethlisberger back next season, they can make it happen.
Yeah, I'm sure they could. With a cap going up again, it may not explode, but it will increase probably at least around 200. I think the ceiling's 208. So cross that bridge when we come to it. But if they really want to make it happen, they will make it happen.
Right. Dave and Alex, this is from Torrin Reagan, writes in, longtime listener and fellow Twitter addict. Question: if there was one position you would like to see Colbert and company address, i.e. trade or free agent signing prior to the start of the regular season, which would it be? I think we've kind of really just talked about that. If you don't want to answer the previous question, here's another one. Well, I think we've kind of answered that for you, right, Torrin? I would say center and free safety, and Alex, you would say free safety and what? Guard, okay. Yep. Second one, based on training camp and preseason, which player would you like to see make the roster that was not previously on the team last year? This can include making the practice squad.
I assume this does not include the drafted rookies.
I guess so. He does not. He said, based on training camp and preseason, which player would you like to see make the roster that was not previously on the team last year? This can include making the practice squad.
Well, I mean, that's a lot of names there. I mean, I think Kalen Ballage is a potential short yardage option when Najee Harris maybe needs a rest after a long 10-play drive and you're sitting there 3rd and 1 or goal line situation. I think he brings a lot of backup value to this team. So I'd have to run through all the names. I mean, there's 30 names you could choose from. But off the top, I'll go Kalen Ballage.
Yeah, and look, you've kind of been on the Ballage wagon right from the get-go there, I think. You were kind of stronger on him right out of the chute than I was, and I think mainly because you thought, man, this guy that's in short yardage situation can help you out there, and this team definitely suffered last year in short yardage. But then I think the further you got into training camp here, you seem to think that, man, this guy's good in pass protection, a pretty decent special teamer as well. So I'm not too shocked that you're going the Ballage way.
Yeah, he was very good at something the Steelers were very bad at last year, which brings some value. And I saw on tape in that report whenever he got signed that he did bring special teams value, so that didn't shock me. Some of the stuff out of the backfield, some of the pass pro was more surprising to me. But yeah, short answer there. I think Kalen Ballage, good that he's healthy, good that he's back, and I think and I hope he makes it.
Wes writes in and says, I don't know about you guys, but I look at the acquisition of Joe Schobert as I did way back when we got James Ferrier on the team. I don't know if he'll wind up being as productive with us as Ferrier was, but from the tape I've watched him, he looks a lot like Ferrier. What say you? I mean, you're talking about to me. I'll tell you this, and somebody tweeted me about Ferrier and all like that, and got mad that I said Schobert has hit his ceiling or has maxed out, which he has, right?
Yeah, he's 27. How much more do you want him to grow? I mean, it doesn't mean he's a bad player. It just means like he's not going to hit another level.
Right. In fact, the exact words I used was he has peaked. Right now, that's not necessarily derogatory. It just means, I mean, his peak's been pretty damn good. to, from where I sit. And as we've said throughout, I mean, I don't know how many times we have to say this. I mean, Alex and I were, or at least I was, and I know Alex was too, a Joe Schobert fan before he even arrived in Pittsburgh. So damn smart. I mean, you like those kind of players there. So now I get it wanting to go the James Ferrier route, because James Ferrier, after the first 3 or 4 years with the Jets, fell out there, and James Ferrier was I think used as an outside, or trying to be made a outside linebacker in a 4-3 system. Comes to the Steelers and they put him inside in a 3-4. Really flourished from there. I guess what I'm getting at when it comes to, I mean, Schobert's always kind of been a middle guy, right? I mean, I guess he started off on the outside, right?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
But they quickly moved him inside. It didn't take too long to move him into a true inside linebacker, right?
Yeah, I think his second year
right.
under Greg Williams. So yeah, I get the parallels. Ferrier, I'm looking up here, was 27 when he became a Steeler in 2002, and Schobert's 27 right now. So I get the idea, but I mean, to call someone Ferrier is pretty strong. So I'm not going to go to that level until this guy gets a snap in a Steelers uniform.
Look, if you get 2 years out of this guy in Schobert, oh man, fantastic. If you get 2 quality seasons out of him, fantastic. I mean, even if you get one of them at the price you paid for him, I think it's great. I mean, if you get 2 out of them, I think it's even better. But look, also when Ferrier came through, you had a lot more zone stuff, right? And the fullback was still prevalent at the time. Nowadays, your inside linebacker's got to be, not only a 3-down player, he's got to be able to do things in coverage on top of everything else.
Right. So we'll see. I'm excited about the move. I think it's an upgrade. I think he's a good player. Will I call him Ferrier? I won't, but I'm not focused on the comparisons. I just want to look at Schobert himself and see how much he helps his team.
David Ricard's right in. Thanks for all the great work again, fellas. Is Dan Moore locked to make the 53 at this point? Oh, yeah, most definitely, Dave. I'm guardedly optimistic about Green too, but I think we may have to find another nice snag in the 4th in the O-line by Colbert based on his performance so far. I think we may have another nice snag. Oh, he says, I'm guardedly optimistic about Green too, but I think we may have another nice snag in the 4th in the O-line by Colbert. I guess he's talking about Dan Moore there based on his performance so far. Dan Moore's a lock to make the 53. He's going to make this 53. The question now is, I guess what's on a lot of people's minds after the last preseason game. A lot of people think he probably should start over a core 4. I would be surprised if that happens.
Yeah, I would be too. The question, I think the better question is he active on game day over Joe Haeg? And that may be more of an open question.
I agree there.
And to your point, if he is, then what do you have Joe Haeg for? I mean, injury insurance, I guess, but then do you consider cutting him?
Right, and that's kind of where I was coming from with my question. We'll see. Where does Dan Moore fit on your game day 53 or your game day 48? Right.
Right. Yeah.
Game day 48 now.
Assuming you keep 8 offensive linemen active on game day.
Right, which we assume that they will. Our buddy George O'Donnery writes back in from Northeastern University, wants to give us kudos on the Franco interview. It's kind of a long email there. So, George, we were pleased as punch not only to have Franco, but Alan Faneca within just a couple of days of each other. Really made it for a special week that week, especially on top of all the Hall of Fame festivities and all like that. So, Alex, I think I did it. I think I got through all the emails here. I think we got everybody out there in red this time around there. So within that, you will be back out there on Tuesday.
Yep.
All right, and Tuesday and Wednesday, and then obviously we'll have follow-up recap podcast special editions, the final 2 of 2021 there as well. So let's see. In the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and you want to donate to the cause, please go to SteelersDepot.com, hit the donate button, upper right navigational bar. Also, if If you like an ad-free version of the site, please go to SteelersDepot.com, hit the ad-free button. Upper right navigational bar for $25. You can have an ad-free version of the site for 1 full calendar year from the time you sign up there. A lot of people taking part in, or taking advantage of that as well too. Alex, any final thoughts? Happy anniversary again, brother.
Thank you.
We'll kind of end on that note. So as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.